Hello everyone, my name is Partho Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Electrical Engineering, JS College of Engineering, West Bengal, India. First of all, welcome to my class. So, today's topic is, as we can see, the starting methods of synchronous motor, effect of variation of excitation, applications of the synchronous motor, and the synchronous condenser. So overall, that means we can say that this is the overall view of a synchronous motor. So let's start. Okay, so synchronous motor in general. A synchronous motor is electrically identical with an alternator or AC generator. That means when we have done the synchronous generator, so there we have seen the construction. So there is a stator, there is a rotor. So on the rotor we have the field winding. On the stator we have the three-phase armature winding, and there we have seen that two types of rotor. We have the saline pole and cylindrical pole rotor. That thing we have done. So that same construction we have in case of the synchronous motor also. So a given alternator can be used as a motor, so when driven electrically, that means a synchronous generator which we can use, that can be used as a synchronous motor when we are giving electrical energy as input and we are taking mechanical energy as output. So some characteristics features of a synchronous motors are as follows. So the characteristics are, it runs either at synchronous speed or not at all. That means when it is running, the rotor is, when it is running condition, it must be run at synchronous speed. Okay, and the only variation of the speed can be changed by change the frequency, where the frequency is f is equal to 1 ns into p by 120. It is not inherently self-starting. It has to be run up to the synchronous speed by some external means, some prime mover we used over here to give the rated speed to the rotor section. And after that there is a magnetic locking and magnetic lock in between the poles and the synchronous, that is the magnetic poles on the stator and the poles on the rotor, and there is a locking, and for the after that, that is rotating at the synchronous speed. Okay, it is applicable of being operated under a wide range of power factor correction. So basically it is used for the power factor correction, both lagging and leading power factor. Principle of operation. So here, as we can first we see what is written over here, then I am going to explain one by one. So when that means it is we are thinking about a synchronous motor. So when we are thinking about a synchronous motor, that means we have to give an electrical supply. So where we are giving the electrical supply, definitely on the stationary section. What is the stationary section? That is the stator. What the stator, which winding we have the armature winding on it. So we have to give three-phase supply to the armature winding, correct? Now after that, see, after that we have to give over the field winding, there is a DC excitation. Okay, and at the same time we have to rotate, or you have to rotate the rotor by some prime mover. Usually we use some DC motor, DC shunt motor. In those cases, in case of large synchronous motor, we use some induction motors also. Okay, and then when by rotating by some prime mover, we have, when we are rotating the rotor at synchronous speed or near to the synchronous speed, and when the supply is coming to the armature section, and we have given a excitation to the rotor field winding, so there is a opposite pole generation, and due to that pole generation there is a magnetic locking, and due to that the motor starts rotating at synchronous speed. Then after the speed is achieved, then the prime mover is disconnected from the system. So this is the basic idea. So let us see what is written over here. So consider two pole stator of figure 1336.2, as you can see over there, in which two stator poles marked as NS and SS rotating at synchronous speed, say in clockwise direction. Since the two similar poles N and S, N and NS, as well as S and SS will repel each other, the rotor tends to rotate in the anticlockwise direction. That is one instant is given over here. So once it is taken that a DC excitation is given to the system in the rotor section, definitely that means in that rotor there is a fixed pole generation. So one side that will be definitely north pole, and one side that will be definitely south pole. At the same time, when AC supply is given to the armature, so that's why what will happen. So there will be, and there will be a pole generation, but with after each alternative uh, cycle, it will change its pole. That means once it is a north pole, in the second half it will be south pole. Like this way it is alternately changing. So once when the same poles will be there at the same location, so there will be repulsion. When the opposite pole will appear in the next half period of the cycle, then there will be a attraction. So that means a pulsating magnetic field is produced over there. So hence, we found that there is a continuous rapid rotation in the stator. The rotor is subjected to torque which tends to move in first in one direction and it is then in the opposite direction. Owing to its large inertia, the motor cannot instantaneously respond to such quickly reversing torque, with the result that is remains stationary. So then how we can start this one? Now consider the condition as shown in the figure 36.3a, where the stator and the rotor poles are attaching each other. Okay, so as there we can see that in that picture A, we can see that there is opposite pole generation. Suppose the rotor is not stationary, but it is rotating clockwise with such a speed that turns through one pole pitch. By the time the stator poles interchange their position as shown in the figure B. So there is a, see, as you can see, there is the opposite pole generation. Here again the stator and the rotor poles attract each other. Okay, so once in the left hand side diagram we can say there is a repulsion, so there is the attraction, and again after half cycle there is again attraction. It means that if the rotor poles also shift their position along with the stator poles, and then they will continuously experience a unidirectional torque, that is clockwise torque, as shown in the figure 13.6. As we are saying that that means in the stator section there is armature winding. There we give the AC supply, so the north pole south pole generation will change. Once it is north south, then it is north south, like south north, north south, south north, like this way the poles are changing. So at the same time the rotor is also rotating, so the rotation of the speed is such a way, it is near to the synchronous speed or it is at synchronous speed, so that when there is a north pole, then at the rotor there is south pole. When this north pole is changing to south pole, it is also rotated. So here also there is a north pole. So like this way, always alternative poles are there present over there, so that there is a unidirectional torque is working over there. So that principle is discussed over here. Coming to the next slide, methods of starting. So there are several methods to start the synchronous motor, such as auxiliary drive, and that means some induction motor or DC motor, and induction start using damper winding. General starting procedure: the rotor is speed up to synchronous or near synchronous speed by some arrangement, and they excited by the DC source. The moment this synchronously rotating rotor is excited, is magnetically locked into the position with the stator, that is the rotor poles are engaged with the stator poles, and both run synchronously in the same direction. It is because of this interlocking of stator and rotor poles that the motor has either to run synchronously or not at all. So that means the rotor will either run at synchronous speed or it will not run. So in between there is no state. So however, it is important to understand that the arrangement between the stator and rotor poles is not an absolutely rigid one. So there is a no rigid connection, that is magnetically locked actually. Okay, so yes, it is very important thing. As the load as the load on the motor is increased, though the rotor progressively tends to fall back in phase, okay, by some angle, but it is at the time also it is in the synchronism. it not losing its synchronism, but it is fall back, as we can see in the diagram. Okay, and and there is an angle generation between the stator and rotor poles, and that angle is known as the load angle or coupling angle. The value of this load angle or coupling angle depends upon the amount of load to be met by the motor. Okay, and this is angle and this is also the angle between the rotor and stator field. Okay, so this load angle is a very important term defined by this alpha. Procedure for starting and synchronous motor using the damper winding. So up to previous slide we have seen that how using a DC source how we can start a synchronous motor, and now we are seeing the using the damper winding how we can start a synchronous motor. While starting a modern synchronous motor provided with the damper winding, following procedures is adopted. What are the procedure we have to adopt? That is, first, main winding is short circuited. Reduced voltage with the help of auto transformer is applied across the stator terminal, that means across the armature coil. The motor starts up. When it reaches a steady state speed, a weak DC excitation is applied by removing the short circuit on the main field winding. If excitation is sufficient, then the machine will be pulled into the synchronism. Okay, full supply voltage is applied across the stator terminal by cutting out the auto transformer, and armature is fully supplied. The row motor may be operated at any desired power factor by changing the DC excitation. Okay, that means when we are using this damper binding, at that time we can work at any power factor by changing the DC excitation. Okay, motor on load with constant excitation. So it is now we are going to see the constant excitation. After some slides we are going to see the changing excitation, what are the effects of changing excitation. So in a synchronous machine, a back EMF EB is set up in the armature by the rotor flux, which opposes the applied voltage V. The back EMF depends upon the rotor excitation only. The net voltage in armature is the vector difference between the what is the difference, that is the V, and between the V and EB, where EB is the excitation voltage and EB is the back EMF. The armature current is obtained by dividing this vector difference of the voltage by the armature impedance. Okay, so here in this particular 36.6 in the figure 36.6, the condition when the motor is running at no load and has no loss, that means this no load is connected, that means there is no current is flowing, so there will be no loss. It is having the fixed excitation, which makes this EB is equal to V. So whatever is the excitation voltage, that is equal to the back EMF. It is seen that vector difference of EB and V is 0, so the armature current is also 0. So the motor intake current is 0 now. So so there is neither load or losses to be made by it. So that means we can say that this motor is at floating condition. Okay, now if the motor is on load but it has losses, then the vector for EB falls back, okay, by a certain angle of alpha, so that a resultant voltage ER and hence current IA is brought into the existence, which supplies the losses. So that means now when load is connected, then V is not equal to then anymore equal to this EB, so it is falls back, and now there is an angle in between this V and EB, that is alpha. So it is a resultant. As there is a difference, so there is a current is flowing. Okay, and that due to that current, when in the system there is a resistance reaction, so there will be some losses. Okay, if now the motor is loaded, then its rotor will further fall back in phase by a greater value of alpha, called the load angle or coupling angle. The resultant voltage ER is increased and motor draws an increased armature current, as shown in the figure 36.8, through a slightly decreased power factor. So I am not I have discussed this one. Now I am going to explain the whatever phasor diagram here it is present. So here we are considering that, so this is the terminal V, okay, and this is the back EMF EB. So the difference between this one is the resultant EMF. So this is ER. So the resultant of this two is this one. Okay. Now we know that, as we have discussed, that between the excitation voltage and the back EMF there is an angle of alpha. So this is the alpha angle. Okay. And now in the armature section, in the stator section, the angle between the voltage and armature current is phi, that is given in this diagram. This one, follow my pointer. Okay, and between the resultant EMF and between the armature current there is another angle that is known as the theta. So now when the load is increased, so what we can see over here, see, follow my pointer very carefully. In the first figure 36.7, in which whatever is the value of IA, that will be increased because load is increased. Load is increased means this IA value will be increased. Okay, when this IA value is increased, and then this alpha value is also increasing, this alpha value is also increasing. See, this is the previous case, and now this is changed to this one, so it is also changing, the EB value is also changing. Okay, so this is the change when load is connected to the system. Now we will going to see the equivalent circuit of a synchronous motor. So in the left hand side diagram, figure 36.9 shows the equivalent circuit model for one armature phase of a cylindrical rotor synchronous motor. So here we can see the within three phase we are viewing the only one phase, and with that we are viewing the field winding also. So here, as we can see, in the field winding, the DC source is supplied through a rheostat so that we can vary the field excitation, and in the armature section there is a armature resistance, a synchronous reactance XS, and there is a back EMF generation of E, and there is a terminal voltage of V. So this is the things that is depicted over here. And the right hand side picture, that is figure 36.9, it is seen that the phase applied voltage V is the vector sum of the reverse back EMF, that is minus EB, and the impedance drop is IA ZS, where ZS is the synchronous impedance. Okay, so as we can see the diagram, this is the EB, and this is the V. Okay, and between V and IA there is an angle of phi, and from this EB there are the two drops in the armature section, that is IARA and the IAXS. So that two drops, so that will, the resultant of that will give us the IAZS. Okay, so in other words, V is equal to the summation of, so this V, follow my pointer, this V in the right hand side picture, this V is a summation of this EB plus IAZS. So that thing is written over here. Okay, then the angle between the phasor V and EB is also got the load angle or power angle of the synchronous motor. Okay, so the angle between the V and EB, that is given by alpha, that is denoted, there is a load angle or power angle. Okay, the power flow within a synchronous motor. So what is the amount of power flow that is flowing through the synchronous motor, that we are going to discuss right now. So for that we are considering that Ra is the armature resistance per phase and Xa is the synchronous reactance per phase. So what is the total impedance? Zs is equal to Ra plus jXs. So what is the armature current per phase? That is the ER by ZS. What is the resultant EMF? That is equal to my V minus EB, except voltage minus the uh, back EMF by ZS. So obviously where this V is equal to EB plus IF ZS, the angle theta by which IA lags behind ER is given by tan theta is equal to XS by RA. If RA is negligible, then this theta is equal to 90 degree. Okay, the mechanical power developed, some would be to meet iron and friction and excitation loss. Hence, the power available at the shaft would be less than the developed power by this amount. Out of the input power per phase, Vi cos phi and amount I square R is wasted in the armature. The rest amount Vi cos phi minus Ia2 at Ra appears as mechanical power in motor. That means we are giving some electrical power input, and that is converting to some amount of mechanical power. So that conversion is going on in the synchronous motor. So if the motor input per phase in the of the motor P is given by Pm plus uh, I square Ra, where Pm is the amount of mechanical power, and there is I square R is the loss in the system. So we can write down for three phase Pm is equal to root 3 Vi VL IL cos phi minus 3 I square Ra. Yes. So this is the pictorial view, that is the presentation how the losses, what are the different types of losses are occurring. So as we can see that we are giving some electrical energy input to the system, that is P is equal to VIA cos phi. So now as it is a motor, so there will be some mechanical losses, and then there is the sorry, there will be some electrical losses, and then there that will be converted into some mechanical energy. So as you can see in the right hand side, follow my pointer. So this is the copper loss, electrical loss is occurring, and the rest amount of power is converting into the mechanical power. And when it is converting into mechanical power, there are also some type of loss. What are the loss? Stray loss, friction loss, excitation loss. So those iron loss or cold loss is there. So whatever is the rest amount of mechanical energy is there, that we can get at the shaft of the synchronous motor. So this is the power flow diagram. Okay, so this is the electrical energy input, then is the copper loss, then is the gross mechanical power, generated. From there the iron loss, friction loss, stray loss, that will be cancelled out, and rest amount of power we will get at the shaft of the synchronous motor. Okay, so power developed by a synchronous motor. The armature resistance of a synchronous motor is negligible as compared to its synchronous reactance. Okay, so hence the equivalent circuit for the motor becomes as shown in the figure. From the phasor diagram, as we can see in the 36.10 B, it is seen that, so what is AB? So this AB, as we have discussed previously, that is this is EB, and these are the two drops we have. So it's in the system, so that is given the total reactance drop. Okay, so this is the actually the direct axis and the quadrature axis. Those two components are the resultants of IA and XS, and that this EB and IA axis are the resultant of this one. Okay. So this is this. So AB is equal to what we can write down. This is EB sine alpha. We can write down. Okay, and then that is equal to IA excess into cos alpha, or VIA excess cos phi is equal to EB V sin phi. Now VIA cos phi is a motor power input per phase. So PE is equal to EB into V into sin alpha by XS, that is per phase. Okay. uh, yes, since this stator copper losses have been neglected, Pin also represented the gross mechanical power developed by the rotor. So Pm is equal to Pin, that is the mechanical power developed, is equal to the power input to the synchronous motor, is equal to given by 3EBV by XS into sin alpha. Okay, so now the torque equation, as we have done in the in case of induction motor, here also we have the same type of equation, that is torque Tg, gross torque, is equal to 9.55 Pm, that is the mechanical power developed by the Ns, that is the synchronous speed, that is unit is in Newton meter. So the Tg equation, where the Pm value is given by E 3EBV by XS, so that we can put in the equation, and after putting we can find out the expression is become 9.55 3 into EBV by NS into XS into sin alpha. So that is actually coming 28.65 EBV sin alpha by NS into XS in Newton meter. Okay, so taken an example, whatever we have discussed, write down the formula. So using that formula, I have tried to solve a problem over here. So what is the problem? It is told that a 75 kilowatt three phase star connected 50 hertz 440 volt cylindrical rotor synchronous motor operates at rated condition with 0.8 power factor leading. The motor efficiency in excluding field and stator losses is 95% and X is equal to 2.5 ohm. Calculate the mechanical power developed, armature current, back EMF, power angle and maximum or pull out torque of the motor. Okay, so what is the solution? So first we are finding out the synchronous speed, that is given by ns is equal to 120 f by p. So using that frequency is given 50, so we have find it out the ns is equal to 25 1500 rpm. If we convert into rps, that will be 25 rps. Okay, now it is told that output power is given over here. So we can find out the input power if it is given that what is the percentage of efficiency of the machine. So it is told that the output power is the 75 kilowatt and the efficiency is 95%. So if we use the formula, P in is equal to P out by efficiency, so then we can find out that the input power is 78.95 kilowatt. Okay, so after finding out that we can find out the power input also like this way. There is a formula of root 3 VL IA cos phi. Now that formula is used for the calculation of what you can say the power input power of the system. Now within that already we have calculated the output power 78.95 kilowatt. So put that value over there, and within that, see, VL value is given in the problem. It is star connected. It is told that then it is power cos phi is given 0.8. So in that particular equation we doesn't know only the IA. So keeping IA in the left hand side, take other components in the right hand side, and we can find out IA is equal to 129 ampere. So what is the applied voltage per phase? So we know that per phase, if we want to find out, then we have to, in star connection, what the relation is, the VL is equal to root 3 of V phase. So why you want to find out the phase voltage? So VL by root 3, that thing we have to do. So what is VL? 440 by root 3, where we are getting 254 volt. Okay, so let we are considering that let V is equal to 254 at an angle 0. Okay, so now this V is equal to EB plus JIXS, and phi is equal to cos inverse 0.8, that is 36.9. EB is equal to V minus JIXS, that is we can now put the values 254 at an angle 0 minus 129 at an angle 36.9 degree into 2.5 90 degree, that is 516 at an angle minus 30 degree. So the maximum pull out torque that will occur when this alpha is equal to 90 degree. So at that time, what is the power value, maximum power value? So put the value in the equation, 3 EBV by XS sin alpha, that is equal to EV we know 254, V you know 516, XS you know 2.5. so sin alpha is 90 degrees, so put the value, we can find out that that is 157,276.8 watts. So pull out torque will be this 9.55 276.8 by 1500, that is giving us that 1001.328 Newton meter. So this is one example for you. Sorry. Yes, synchronous. Now it is very important thing. So the first section is completed, how to start the machine, what are the power input power, mechanical power generated, those things which section we have completed. Now this is the synchronous motor with different excitation. So there may be possibilities of three types of synchronization. So under excitation, over excitation, so this is the main thing. So normal excitation, these three things can be possible. So for these three conditions, we are going to see what is going to happen with this synchronous motor. So a synchronous motor is said to have normal excitation when its EB is equal to V. So when it is normal excitation, when it is at the open terminal, that means no load is connected to the system. If field excitation is such that when this V is greater than this EB the motor is said to be under excited. In both this condition, it has a lagging power factor as shown in the 36.12. So there we can see that there are two diagrams we can find out like there, that is the lagging power factor when EB is equal to V and when EB less than V. Okay, so there we can see that there is a difference between the diagram. So this angle is changing, then this angle between V and IA is changing. It is greater here. The length of armature current is increasing when we are discussing about that one. The angle between this EB and minus axis of this V is decreasing when is increasing when we are when it is in the under excited condition. If the field winding is such that when this EB is greater than V, then it is called the overexcited and draws a leading current as shown. That is in the reactive power control case we are using that. So there will be some value of excitation for which armature current will be in phase with V, so the power factor will become unity. So as we can see in the next picture, okay, the value of this alpha and back EMF Ep can be found with the help of vector diagram for various power factors. So lagging power factors, so as we can see, so from the phasor diagram, this AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square. So coming to this pictures, uh, 36.14a, 36 point, yes, this is 36.14a. Here AC square, AC, this AC, follow my pointer, this AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square. Okay, now what is AC? What is AC? So first of all, what is AB? AB is equal to V minus ER cos theta minus phi uh, whole square, plus what is BC? BC is actually ER sin theta minus phi whole square. So EB is equal to, we can write down that under root V minus IAZS cos theta minus phi whole square plus IAZS sin theta minus phi whole square. And what is alpha? Alpha is equal to tan inverse BC by AB. Okay, so now we know the value of BC and AB, just put over there. So BC, so we will get that after putting the value tan inverse IA ZS sin theta minus phi V minus IA ZS cos theta minus phi. So as we can see in this particular equation. So next, coming to the resultant EMF equation, that is ER is equal to V plus EB, where EB is the back EMF. So ER is equal to, can write down V into cos theta 0 plus J sin theta 0 plus EB cos 180 degree minus alpha plus J sin 180 degree minus alpha. So from there we can rewrite this ER is equal to V minus EB cos alpha plus JEB sin alpha, and the theta minus phi, that is given by tan inverse EB sin alpha by V minus EB cos alpha. So this is for the lagging power factor case. Now for coming to the leading power factor case. So in case of leading power factor case, we can see that the EB equation is given by V plus IAZS cos 180 degree minus theta plus phi. There we have seen the theta minus phi, here that is the leading power factor, so we can say that there is theta plus phi, okay, whole square plus IAZS sin 180 degree minus theta plus phi whole square. So the alpha is given by tan inverse IAZS sin 180 degree minus theta minus phi V minus IAZS cos 180 degree minus theta minus phi. So like this way all the values we can find out, and here the power factor angle is given by theta is equal to tan inverse XS by RA, where XS is the synchronous reactance, RA is the armature resistance. Now for case of unity power factor, now when we are considering unity power factor, so there is the calculation is going to be simple. So power for, in this case, the power factor angle is given by theta is equal to tan inverse xs by Ra. Okay, and the EB equation is given by under root b plus Ia R square plus Ia xs whole square. So those things we have already done when we have done the synchronous generators synchronous impedance method calculation. So there we have this type of calculation we have that. So that's why I am not going for the again same detailing. Okay, that thing we have already done, and then this alpha is given by tan inverse Ia xs by b minus Ia Ra. Okay, so again there is an example I have taken for whatever leading, lagging and unity power factor problem we have taken. So from there we can say that there is a problem, that problem is stating that 25 horsepower 220 volt 60 hertz 4 pole star connected synchronous motor is rotating with a light load. The angle between the rotor and stator field is 3 degree. The excitation is adjusted for a generated armature voltage per phase of 110 volt. What is the resultant armature voltage per phase? What is the angle between the resultant voltage and terminal voltage? So first we are finding out the terminal voltage per phase. So as it is told that it is star connected, so and the voltage is given by 220 volts. So phase voltage is given by 220 by root 3. In the previous problem also we have discussed that thing. So that is equal to 127 volt. So alpha is equal to 3 degree. We mentioned in the problem that so cos alpha we can find out and sin alpha we can find out. So ER formula is given by, that is V minus EB cos alpha plus J EB sin alpha. Okay, so under root ER, thus ER value is given by under root that equation. So if V value is known, EB value is known, cos alpha value is known, so everything we will put and we will get the value of ER is equal to 17.95 volt. Okay, and theta minus phi, that value is given by tan inverse EB into sin alpha by B minus EB cos alpha. So directly we are applying formulas over here, put the values in the formula, we can directly find out the results. Okay, increase effect of increased load with constant excitation, very important uh, thing. That is now we are going to the thing that we have a V curve generation, that portion that towards we are proceeding. So let us see what is there. So the effect of increased load on a synchronous motor will be studied under normal condition, under under excitation condition and under over excitation condition. When normal excitation is considered, that time we have considered that EB is equal to V, and with under excitation we have considered that EB is less than V, and with over excitation we have considered that EB is greater than V. So the value of excitation should be kept constant. So for we are considering, first we are considering when the normal excitation is given. So the figure 1336.15a shows us the condition when motor is running with a light load, so that torque angle alpha 1 is small, so ER1 is small, hence I armature current is also small, and phi 1 is small, so that the cos phi is very large. That means when a light load condition is occurring in the system, so at that time the difference between EB and V is very less. If the difference between EB and V is very less, that means in the diagram A section, see, follow my pointer, the difference between EB and this EB and V is very less, so the resultant value is very small in height. So the small amount of current, IA current, will flow through this one. So the angle phi 1, this angle phi 1 is small in that case, so the cos phi value will be higher. Now suppose the load on the motor is increased. So when the load upon the motor is increased, so what will be the change? uh, the to meet the extra load on the synchronous motor, the armature coil will draw more current from the source. So the length of the armature current IA2, as we can see in the 36.15b picture. So as follow my pointer, this length is increasing with respect to this one. Okay, the angle between this V and I2 is also increasing. Okay, and the resultant when the load is increasing, this difference between this EB and V is also changing as the drops are increasing, so the resultant ER's value is also changing, it is increasing actually. Okay, so what actually happens is, as under, rotor falls back in phase, already discussed, that is the load angle increases from alpha 2 as shown in the figure, already discussed. The resultant voltage in armature is increased considerably to new value of ER2. As a result, armature current increases from IA1 to IA2, thereby increasing the torque developed by the rotor. So phi 1 increases to phi 2, so the power factor decreases from cos phi 1 to new cos phi 2. So this is happening when we are considering at a light load to increased load. Since increase in IA is much greater than the slight decrease in power factor, the torque developed by the motor is increased to a new value sufficient to meet the extra load put on the motor. It will be seen that essentially it is very increasing, it is by increasing its IA that the motor will able to carry the extra load put on it. The effect of increased load on a synchronous motor at normal excitation is shown in the figure below. Okay, so that thing is, it is depicted over here. So now under the under excitation case, so 13.6.17 picture is showing us the under excitation. So as shown in the 13 figure, with a small load and hence small torque, alpha 1 IA1 lags behind V by a large phase angle phi 1, which means poor power factor. Okay, so a much larger armature current must flow for developing the same power because of poor power factor. So as load increases, ER increases to ER1 increases to ER2, consequently IA1 increases to IA2, and power factor decreases from cos phi 1 to pro cos phi 2. So due to increase in both armature current and power factor, so power factor angle, the power generated by the armature increases to meet the increased load. As seen, it is case change in the power factor is more than the change in IA, over excitation. So when running on light load, alpha 1 is small, but IA1 is comparably larger and leads V1 by an angle phi 1. Like under excitation motor, as motor load is applied, the power factor improves and approaches unity. The armature current also increases, thereby producing the necessary armature power to meet the increased load, as we can see in the figure 36.18. So as you can see, so in this case power factor angle phi decreases at a faster rate than the armature current, thereby producing the necessary increased power to meet the increased load applied to the motor. So overexcitation means when EB is higher than this V, and that's why it is consuming the reactive power. The main points regarding the above three cases can be summarized as under. So as load of the motor increases, armature current increases regardless of excitation. For under and over excitation, over excited motors, power factor tends to approach unity with increase in load. But with under and over excitation, change in power factor is greater than IA with increase in load. With a normal excitation, when load is increased, change in IA is greater than the power factor, which tends to become increasingly lagging. Okay, so what are the different types of torque we have in case of synchronous motor? So there is starting torque, running torque, pull-in torque, and pull-out torque. So one by one we will see what are those, because these are very important concept regarding your study of this particular module. So starting torque, it is the torque developed by the motor when full voltage is applied to its stator winding. Okay, so it is also sometimes called breakaway torque. Next, running torque. As its name indicates, it is the torque developed by the motor under running condition. It is developed by the horsepower and speed of the driven machine. The peak horsepower determines the maximum torque that would be required by the driven machine. The motor must have a break down or a maximum running torque greater than its this value in order to avoid stalling. So pull in torque. Now after that we will do the pull out torque. So pull in torque. A synchronous motor is started as induction motor till it runs 2 to 5% below of its synchronous speed. Afterwards, excitation is switched on and the rotor pulls into the step with the synchronously rotating stator field. So the amount of torque in which the rotor will pull into the step of synchronism, that is known as the pull in torque. So pull out torque, definitely the reverse case of that one. So let us see what is that. The maximum torque which the motor can develop without pulling out the step of synchronism is called the pull out torque. That is the maximum um, amount of torque which motor can develop without pulling out the of step or synchronism is called the pull out torque. Normally when load on the motor is increased, its rotor progressively tends to fall back in phase by some angle behind the synchronously revolving stator magnetic field. Through it keeps running synchronously. Motor develop maximum torque when its motor is retarded by an angle 90°. Any further increase in load will cause the motor to pull out of step and stop. Okay. Now the effects of excitation on armature current and power factor. So consider a synchronous motor in which mechanical load is considered constant. The value of excitation for which the back EMF EB is equal to applied voltage V is known as 100% excitation, as you can see in the below diagram. Now coming to the next, so in this section excitation is less than 100%. Okay, here ER is advanced clockwise, and so it and so is armature current. So its armature current, the magnitude of I is increased but its power factor is decreased because input as well as V are constant. Hence the power component of I, that is the I cos phi, that is denoted in the particular phasor diagram, that is OA, will remain constant. When field current is reduced, the motor pull out torque is also reduced in proportion. So these are the different condition representation, over excitation representation, though we are not going to that details, everything is same. So okay, so yes, the magnitude of armature current varies with excitation. So this is the a very important characteristic between the DC field current and AC current per phase in the armature. So current has large value with both for low and high values of excitation. In between, it has minimum value corresponding to a certain excitation. The variation of I with excitation are shown in this particular diagram, which is known as the V curve because its shape. That means when we are giving a small field current to the system, and it has a very high current, so when we are increasing the current value, the armature current is decreasing at a certain point, it has a minimum value. Again, if we are increasing the field current value, then the armature current again increasing. Okay, so the first case at the below graph is representing the one as it is denoted, that is no load curve, and number 2 is the half load curve, and number 3 is the full load curve. Okay, so now so this is known as the V curve. Now there is another thing that is known as the inverted V curve. For the same point, armature current varies over a wide range, and so cause the power factor also to vary accordingly. When overexcited case is occurring, motor runs with leading power factor and with lagging power factor when underexcited. In between, the power factor is unity. So that means we can say that in the previous pictures also, at the before the minimum point, see follow my pointer, this section is working in the lagging power factor, this section is working in the leading power factor, and this particular line it is working at the unity power factor. Like this way, inverted V curve also work. Yes, inverted V curve also worked as um, has the three zone. One is unity power factor, one is lagging power factor, one is leading power factor. Okay, so the variation, so in this case what we do, how we get an inverted V curve. So previous curve is in between the DC field current and armature current per phase, and this is the DC field current versus the power factor. So as we can see, with the increasing value of field current, DC field current, so the power factor is increasing. At a certain point it is maximum at unity, and after that when we are increasing the DC field current, that power factor is again decreasing, and like this way we are getting the inverted V curve. So we would noted that minimum armature current corresponding to unity power factor. See, when follow my pointer, when it is at unity power factor, the power factor is maximum, but when it is at unity power factor, the current is minimum. So when the power factor is highest, the armature current is lowest one. So this is the comparison. So this is this particular line, this is V curve, this is inverted V curve, and this is the mini unity power factor line where the armature current is minimum but the power factor is maximum. The property of the motor renders is extremely useful for phase advancing purpose in the case of industrial loads driven by induction motor and lightning and heating loads supplied through transformer. But both transformer induction motor draw lagging current from the line. Okay, so that is a picture where induction motors and synchronous motors are connected together. Okay, the power drawn by them as a large reactive component, and the power factor has a very low value. This reactive component through essential for operating the electrical machinery, essential appreciable loss in many ways. The lagging reactive power of the induction motor and transformer required is supplied by synchronous motor. That means the whatever the reactive power is needed by the induction motor and transformer, that is provided by this synchronous motor. And when the synchronous motor is doing that, at that case it is known as a synchronous capacitor or synchronous condenser, because it draws like a capacitor, leading power factor, not leading power factor, leading current from the line. Okay, so now what is the advantage of synchronous motor over induction motor? Synchronous motor can be used for power factor correction in addition to supplying torque to drive loads. Um, Synchronous motors are more efficient than induction motor of corresponding horsepower and voltage rating. The field pole rotor of synchronous motor can permit the use of wider air gap than the squirrel cage induction motor. Synchronous motor can operate lagging, leading, and unity, all type of power factor, but induction motor always only operate at lagging power factor. Synchronous motor may less costly for the same horsepower, speed, and voltage rating. They give constant speed for no load to full load. Okay, so that means with the change of load, the speed is not varying such much. They require DC excitation, which must be supplied from external source. They have tendency to hunt. They cannot be used for variable speed jobs, and as speed adjustment cannot be done. They cannot be started under load condition. Their starting torque is zero. They may fall out of the synchronism and stop when overloaded. So the previous one are the disadvantages that I have discussed. Okay, compare a synchronous motor with an induction motor, that we have already done. So these are the things. So now coming to the point, that is the synchronous motor application. So what are the synchronous motor application? So there are different applications of synchronous motor. Within that, the main are power factor correction. So that means to improve the power factor, we can use that one. Constant speed, constant load drives, and voltage regulation. That is one as it is running at a, as the name suggests, it is running at always synchronous speed. So it is used where we need a constant speed, and with the variation of the load, the speed is not changing. So it is a very wonderful machine for application where we need a constant speed motor, and its voltage regulation is very good. Okay, so these are the field application. What are the field application? Powerhouse and substation, used in powerhouse and substation in parallel to the bus bar to improve the power factor. factories. In factories, what are the use in factories? Having large number of induction motor or other power apparatus operating at lagging power factor to improve the power factor. The mini industries, like it is used the textile mills, rubber mills and other big industries, cement factories for power applications. Constant speed equipment used in drive continuously operated and constant speed equipment such as fans, blowers, centrifugal pumps, motor generator sets and air compressor etc. Those are the industry application we have. So what is power factor correction? It has been seen that a synchronous motor can be operated in both lagging and leading power factor by varying the field flux of excitation current. An over-excitation motor can be run with leading power factor. When a synchronous motor operates at leading power factor, its behavior of it as like a capacitor or condenser. That's why a synchronous motor operates at leading power factor is referred to the synchronous capacitor, synchronous condenser. So thus this overexcited synchronous motor leading power factor are widely used for the improving power factor of those power station systems which employ a large number of induction motor and other devices which are having lagging power factor. Okay, so these are the use because of their constant speed and constant load drives. So because of their high efficiency and high speed, synchronous motor are well suited for loads where constant speed is required, such as centrifugal pump, belt driven reciprocating compressors, blowers, lines, shafts, rubbers and paper mills etc. So low speed synchronous motor are used for the drives such as centrifugal and screw type pumps, ball and tube mills, vacuum pumps, chippers and metal rolling mills. So there is the application. So it is has a very voltage high very good voltage regulation. So the less voltage regulation, this is one problem for you. It is, I am not going for the details, it is for your assignment. So first you try to solve this problem, then if it is if there is any problem, then again contact with me. I will give you the uh, explanation of this. So this is all about of this synchronous motor. I think now you are able to understand what is the working principle of synchronous motor, how the synchronous motors are started, what with the change of excitation and power factor, how the motor is behaving, what is V curve, what is inverted V curve, what is synchronous condenser and related problems we have some solved. So this is all for today. Thank you.